Okay, welcome to the Stony Brook School's virtual open house. My name is Yuri Francis, and I serve as the Director of Enrollment Management. And this is my 6th year at the Brook. I'm so glad that you could join us this evening. And I know for some of our guests, it may be the morning, so good morning to you. Tonight's event is the first virtual open house of the year. There will be 4 more virtual open houses coming up in this series. The focus for this event will be the academic program. Now, before we review the agenda, I want to take a few minutes to show you our school video.
Choose one: wisdom, imagination. Both are valuable. Both are things we want our generation to have. But sometimes we find ourselves splitting the world into binary choices, one or the other, thinking we have to choose between being grounded or taking flight, not realizing that wisdom and imagination need each other. For imagination without wisdom can be impulsive, and wisdom without imagination quickly becomes dry. So what happens when education cultivates both equally? When we follow the model of a creator who both imagined form out of void and put wisdom into words. The Stony Brook School believes that when wisdom meets imagination, it produces great vision. And the world needs great vision. Innovation is happening so quickly today that it keeps outpacing itself, and we don't always have the eyes to see whether this is good. Our values get shaped by what's expedient instead of what's true. We want to be a generation of leaders with the vision to see the difference and the character to see beyond.
I'm learning to see beyond my own needs to how I can serve others.
I'm learning to see beyond just taking classes to the opportunity of finding new passions.
I see leadership as an opportunity to love people and to help them grow.
I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what job I'm going to have in the future, but I know that whatever's coming, I'm going to be confident and ready for it.
I'm learning to see beyond answers to the questions behind them.
I'm learning to see beyond my own culture to a bigger understanding of the world.
I want to help my students to see beyond even college and to see 10 or 15 years into the future into who they can be.
At Stony Brook, we're learning to bring wisdom and imagination together to create great vision. Because at the core, vision is an act of faith, requiring both wisdom to know the greatness of God and imagination to be open to His calling. Vision that puts conviction into motion and gives structure to a dream, that both chases and stands ground, that develops both the skill sets and mindsets for jobs that don't exist yet. Vision that accelerates, vision that serves. So, if we ever think we have to choose just one, wisdom, imagination, we will have the vision to see beyond.
Wonderful, wonderful. I hope that you enjoyed the video. Now, this evening, you're in for a real treat, as we have a combination of faculty and student speakers. First, you will hear from Stan Winston, our interim academic dean. Next up, you will hear from 2 of our amazing students, Lemuel and Ava. Later in the open house, you will have an opportunity to ask questions about the academic program. And at the end of the program, my colleague from the admissions office, Sharice Welsh, will assist me in answering questions about the application process. Now, here are the expectations for this evening. By now, you probably have noticed that both your camera and microphone are turned off. This will help our speakers avoid any distractions. During the virtual open house, we do encourage you to type your questions using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. And we will try our best to address all of your questions, but please note that the focus of the Q&A session will be the academic program. We will also share the recording of this open house on the Stony Brook School website. And now I have the pleasure of turning the program over to my colleague, Stan Winston.
Good evening, everyone. I am Stan Winston, and it is a real pleasure to be here with you to share with you a bit about our academic programs at the Stony Brook School. But first, a little bit about me. I've been teaching at the Stony Brook School now for 18 years. And during that time, I have served as math teacher, math department chair, director of summer programs, dean of students, and academic dean. Additionally, I have coached varsity volleyball, chess, robotics, and I've been a dorm dad. Currently, I'm the director of STEM education and interim academic dean. Lastly, but from my perspective anyway, certainly not least, I have 6 children who've gone through the Stony Brook School, with my youngest a current senior. If someday you end up being part of the Stony Brook community, you will find that the teachers and staff are the heart and soul behind what makes it an incredibly rich and rewarding place for students to get an education. And I'm only one of many people that have given in a variety of ways to make this place the wonderful place it is today. Currently, I serve as Director of STEM Education and Interim Academic Dean, having replaced Dr. Sean Riley, who replaced me in this very position 8 years ago, so that he could solely focus his efforts on Gravitas, our rapidly growing global extension of the Stony Brook School, making SBS's academic and character formation programs accessible online to students around the globe. Well, enough about me. Let's take some time to dive into our actual academic program, and I'd like to start with the middle school. The middle school, we'll start with World History 7 and 8. And one of the things I love about that is, along with traditional means of assessment, students are given the opportunity to demonstrate their knowledge of topics using a variety of alternative ways, such as videos, dioramas, projects, or reports, bringing life to that which they are learning. Our middle school science is known as STEM 7 and STEM 8. Along with traditional physical science material, they routinely do hands-on projects to put meaning into what they're learning. In 7th grade, students are required to take 2 full-year classes in English literature and English writing. And we do this in order to prepare them for the increased language and writing skills that will be expected in later English and history classes, particularly in the upper grades in high school. We have a very rigorous and flexible math curriculum throughout the school. In middle school, most of our students take either pre-algebra or algebra 1. However, every year we have students that take geometry, algebra 2, or even pre-calculus honors. These are determined by placement tests before they enter the school. Then, starting in 8th grade, all students take a world language, Chinese, Latin, or Spanish. Additionally, over the course of their 7th and 8th grade years, each student takes the equivalent of 1 year of Bible classes surveying the Old and New Testament. And then in fine arts, students take 1 year, both 7th and 8th grade. And in the fine arts, we have a variety of trimester and or full year courses ranging from band and orchestra to choir and a variety of visual arts. 8th graders with a strong background in art are also allowed to take our high school Studio Art 1, 2, 3 sequence, which gives them high school credit and room for other classes and other electives when they get into high school. And then lastly, in 8th grade, all students have 1 trimester of health that they take. In the upper school, just starting with basic graduation requirements, 60 credits are required for graduation, where a full year course is 3 credits. In English, you do 4 years, every year, 9 through 12. 3 years are necessary in world language. When I say 3 years, it has to be 3 years of one level. So Spanish 1, 2, 3, Chinese 1, 2, 3, etc. 4 years of history, including European and US history, are necessary. Completion of Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2, or the equivalent levels. 3 years of science. Everyone has to take biology, and then they must take either chemistry or physics, and then one more amongst our different offerings. Let's see, we've got 2 trimesters of health, one in 9th grade and one in 10th grade. And to round out the graduation requirements, during grades 9 through 12, all students have to do an equivalent of 1 year of fine arts that can be digital, visual, or performing arts. And for more information on the various courses, as well as these graduation requirements and details, you can see the webpage, which is on there, sbs.org/academics. And on there, you can download the 2021-22 course catalog. So what is it that makes us special, or things about our different courses that are unique? Well, one thing is in our humanities, in our English classes, history, and Bible. The majority of these classes are taught as a discussion-based class, not lecture, some of which even use the Harkness table format. In our sciences, not only do we offer regular courses in biology, chemistry, and physics, we also offer honors variants of each one of these. And in addition, we also offer advanced placement biology, chemistry, and AP Physics C. We also offer AP Environmental Science and AP Psychology. With the exception of AP Psychology, all of these AP and college level courses, we have a college level physics course in there as well, have a separate period scheduled during the day for a dedicated lab period. So that's outside of even normal class, and it's scheduled within the students' classes. Of course, with Long Island Sound and other bodies of water all around us, the classes like to take advantage, do lab work on and around the water. Having our own fleet of boats certainly doesn't hurt our ability to do that as well. In math, one of the things that we have begun to see is more and more students entering with higher levels of math. And a number of years ago, that became a problem because students ran out of classes to take. So we made a great hire a few years ago and increased our offerings. And currently, we have each year 1, 2, 3 students as freshmen that are in BC Calculus. In the past, that would be a problem. That is no longer. We've got 3 years of college math beyond AP Calculus BC that we offer, plus another year of AP Statistics. Those offerings are multivariable calculus, linear algebra, and logic. Now, while not in the math department, economics has become a popular class as of late. This year, we have 147 students. Recognize we only have about 380 in the high school. 147 of them are taking some form of economics, whether that be an intro course or AP macroeconomics or AP micro. And so that has been fun to see that taking off lately. Each language, we offer 5 years. So language 1, 2, 3, 4 AP, AP for Spanish and Latin. We offer in Chinese a culture level 4 and a literature level 4 course, which makes 5 years. In addition, we offer through the Stony Brook University or Molloy College select courses in math, science, and language for dual credit, where students may choose for a small fee to earn college credit for that course. Can't leave out the fine arts. We've got a bunch to whet the students' appetite. On the performing arts side, we've got concert choir and chamber ensemble, which at least previously in a non-COVID world, we would compete regionally and did quite well. We also have a combined band and orchestra. And on the visual arts side, we have a 4-year track. We have 4-year tracks into AP Studio Art. And then in addition to that, we have full-year courses split up into sections 1, 2, and 3 of photography, so photo 1, 2, 3, videography 1, 2, 3. We have a full-year yearbook class, a 3D studies, and graphic design, also a full year of each of those. All in all, one of the things which we have significantly increased in the past 7 or 8 years is our elective offerings. And currently we have 115 different course offerings, not just electives, but all courses in grades 7 through 12. Particular favorite area of mine is STEM. 7 years ago, I started our STEM program. In year 1, we had 1 subject split between 2 classes of 15 students each using the physics lab. And fast forward to where we are now, we have 150 plus in 14 different courses in our small, but what I think is very much of a state-of-the-art STEM lab with a flexible classroom and fabrication space. If you get a chance to visit, would love to show you around. Also, we are very excited about plans to build a new STEM building on site to house all our math, science, and STEM classes, hopefully to be built in the next few years. At SBS, we believe that competition is a great way to get students to strive for excellence, showcase some of their talents, and to work on communication and team building skills. And so we look for as many ways as possible to get students involved in local competitions and national when possible. Recently, the past few years, our Ethics Bowl team has dominated all regional competition. In Science Olympiad, we do very well every year with a large number of students participating. And last year we took first place in the astronomy section, which was a lot of fun. Students are also able to get involved in individual research projects. We have consistently had students involved in the Barcode Long Island, a project where students use DNA barcoding to explore, document, and track biodiversity on and around Long Island. And then we have other programs as well. Particularly proud, right now we have a senior girl that earned a spot on Cold Spring Harbor's student research team doing unique research at their lab. And I worked with her and Cold Spring Harbor over the summer to arrange her schedule so that she could spend 2 days per week from August through beginning of March, where she is completely at Cold Spring Harbor doing this research. And then over the weekend, she is very busy catching up on what she missed in those 2 days. But it's been neat to see how we've been able to be flexible and allow students these types of opportunities. In math, we offer the AMC 8, 10, and 12 competition, the American Math Competitions, as well as the COMAP Math Modeling Contest, which is a unique contest in that it starts and ends in a 72-hour period of time, where basically they're given a problem and they have 72 hours in their group of 4 to solve it and come up with a document explaining how they did this. And we have done very well in this contest over the years. Robotics, another area that I really enjoy. We have both First FLL, First Lego League for grades 7 to 9, as well as First FTC in grades 10 to 12. The upper school robotics team has had tremendous success as of late, making the World Championships the last 3 years. And 2 years ago, ranking number 10 in the world out of about 5,000 teams. And this year we are looking to surpass that. Lastly, though not a competition, but something that I'm very proud of, was our face shield project that garnered national attention about 1.5 years ago, right at the beginning of COVID. We had just switched over to online learning the week before, and I was struggling with coming up with projects to do online where the kids could work together. And I received a phone call from a staff member at the Stony Brook University asking if we would use our 3D printers to help them print 5,000 face shields for the university hospital. And while I wasn't against doing that, I felt that the design they had, while good, was something that maybe our students could improve on. And so I took 2 of my classes that I teach, and over the course of 2 days, we reinvented the face shield. The face shield that Stony Brook University was outsourcing, was taking 3 hours per face shield to create. My partner and I, along with the students, put together a face shield using a new laser cutter that we had purchased just a few months earlier, and came up with a design that Stony Brook University Hospital okayed. And we were able to do face shields in between 1 and 2 minutes a piece with an assembly line and a laser cutter. And a neat part of that story was that a member of the community, a parent of a senior, came up to me and said, Stan, you know, you don't want to be making these things day and night. How about you let me take over production? I've got a fabrication plant down on the south side of the island, and I just had to lay off most of my workforce because of COVID. This would enable me to get them back up and running. And so we did. And so he started production of the face masks that we designed. I think it was 10 or 12 of his employees reemployed, and they never left after that. And we were able to distribute these face masks all around, not only the island, but across the US. And we made the design open source. We also had people from different countries reaching out to us, asking how to do that. So that was kind of a neat project where the students, community, we also had some faculty who didn't teach, but whose spouses wanted to get involved and helped with coming up with some of the production pieces so that we were able to do it. All right, well, enough of me talking. I would love to hear a little bit from our 2 students, and they would like to share some of their academic experiences during their combined 10 plus years at SBS. And so we have here with us Ava and Lemuel. And you all can turn on your cameras. And I'm going to start with a question. Lemuel, early on, I mentioned that we taught our English, history, and Bible classes, our humanities classes, a bit differently. Can you talk about what that is like from the student perspective?
Yeah, of course. So you did mention how it was very discussion-based. And I think that is a very important part of the humanities here at Stony Brook, is that the teachers kind of give an important topic, and then instead of telling us what it is, they kind of draw it out from us. They ask about what we think about it and our own interpretations, so that we can sort of grow into the topic that we're being taught that day. And so it's very special because it gives each person kind of their own perspective on something, and it grows important skills that can be used later on, because we're learned to reason and think for ourselves in these humanities classes. And the classes themselves are also very engaging. Like in my history class, we do history bowls. So instead of just being taught history, we're kind of defending it and really trying to understand what it was like in that time period and getting different perspectives of it. And so, it's special in that way.
Thank you, Lem. Ava, can you tell me what you most like about academics at SBS?
Kind of similar to what Lem said. I really like the discussion-based format of a lot of our classes, and also like the variety that we have. Like one of my favorite classes, like ethics and politics, which I feel like a lot of schools don't offer a class like that. It's just a class where we learn about, different moral theories and thinkers, and we encouraged to talk, and it's not really raising hands, it's just everyone talks freely in discussion format. We have debates and things like that. And so all our classes are very open in that way.
That's great. There's an exciting part of our program that I did not talk about because I wanted you to share about it, and that is the mini course program. Would you two be willing to talk a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, of course. Mini courses are definitely one of my favorite parts about Stony Brook. So what they essentially are courses outside the typical academic sphere that last a week, hence the mini part of courses. And it's really it's unique because we're able to take classes and sort of gain a base level experience of fields that are sort of beyond academics. Like there are courses in forensics, and my chemistry teacher was telling me about it. A part of the class was they would split up into groups and make their own crime scene, and then they would swap to try and solve the other people's crime scene. And so it kind of gave them a fundamental understanding of what forensics was. And yeah, it gives students a bit of introspection and into prospective job fields that they may want to go into. And then some mini courses are also just fun. Like I know one of my friends who did rowing as a mini course. They've never really done rowing before, but it was just something that they did and they enjoyed it. There's also cooking. People learn about food and then they go to faculty house and make food. And yeah, it's definitely a very special part about being here. And then during those mini course weeks, there's one every trimester. It's supposed to be low homework, so there's a bit of a break and casual dress.
Is it actually low homework, or is it just supposed to be?
It's actually low homework, which is really nice. And yeah, like you said, they're a great part of the year, and you're also getting to do something that you could be interested in and for the future. Like I did lifeguarding this past trimester, which is really cool because I was able to get my like lifeguard certification and like my CPR and AED training, which is really nice to be able to do that at school for a week instead of my normal classes.
Um, Ava or Lemuel, is there anything else that, in particular that you would like to share regarding academics or your experience here at the school?
I guess like one thing is just how our schedules are. Um, we don't do we have 8 periods, and we don't do all 8 every day. Monday we have 8 period all our classes, and then Tuesday to Friday we have block periods, so 4 classes every day for an hour and a half, which is really nice because you're not doing homework for every class every night, and so it's nice to have the time in between.
Great, thank you, Ava. Lemuel, anything you would like to add?
I did want to talk a bit about declamations. Do we do that anymore? Are we going to bring that back?
That's a great question. It's been a huge part of what we have done year after year, and the only reason we did not do it last year or this year is because of COVID. So why don't you go ahead and tell a little bit about that, because it's a rich part of our academic history.
So declamations are basically essentially you would memorize about 5 minutes of a book or a piece. Yeah, there's a lot of variety of what you can memorize in 5 minutes, and then you would recite that to the class. There are three different fields, I guess. There's drama, oration, and then humor. And so you get to choose one of the three and then memorize a piece in it and recite it back to the class. You can be as you could act as much as you want. You can be as straight-faced as you want, but usually the people who do the most, because declamations don't stop in the classroom, teachers would then recommend the best orators in their class to be semifinalists for sort of the declamation competition we have here. And then the semifinalists would do auditions in front of a few English teachers in the auditorium. And then if they become finalists, they recite their pieces in front of the whole school. And the winners of that competition get a prize. I'm not 100% sure what it is, but what makes Declamation so special is that it sort of helps people a lot with public speaking and oration. I know I've been here since 7th grade, so this is my 6th year. My 7th grade year was doing declamations. I didn't enjoy it that much. I had fun with it, but I wasn't that comfortable with speaking in front of people. But as I've done it, I've become more and more comfortable with speaking in front of others. And I actually look forward to declamation sometimes. So I'm a little bit sad that we can't do it anymore. But yeah, it's a very integral part of the Stony Brook academic experience, and I really hope they bring it back.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, that finishes our planned session on academics. And so, Yuri, I will turn it over to you, Mr. Francis, regarding Q&A. And Ava and Lemuel and I are eager and ready to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. So just a reminder that to our audience that you can type your questions using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. And while you're typing in your questions, and to provide you with some additional time, I will highlight a few things for you. If you want to follow up directly with Mr. Winston, you can find his email address on the screen. And during this panel discussion, we plan to focus on questions pertaining to the academic program. It is important to note that we have covered some other topics in our previous open houses. I encourage you to take a look at those recordings on the school website. And those can be found in the admissions section under virtual campus visits. Now we can get started with the panel discussion. All right, so the first question, if a student has taken a class at another school, would they have to retake it? And Mr. Winston, do you want to start off with that question?
Sure. In almost all situations, if there is a parallel class that your child has taken and passed it, we would accept it, and it would be part of the credits that you receive towards graduating here. Obviously, if you took the class, if the student took the class and failed it, they wouldn't receive credit. But otherwise, the only additional piece that weighs into, and it's not so much a credit piece, is if they did very poorly in a class, they may not have access to some of the honors or advanced classes that we have because they wouldn't meet the prerequisite. But other than that, yes, we accept and pretty much all classes to transfer over. And for example, if they took a fine arts class that we did not offer here, even though we don't offer it, we would accept it towards the fine arts graduation requirement.
Okay, great. And the next question has to do with AP courses. And so the question is, some boarding schools have steered away from AP courses, claiming it offers them more flexibility to do that. What do you think are the pros and cons? Mr. Winston?
Great question. One that we have wrestled with here. We have, and one of the things we've wrestled with is not wanting the AP curriculum to be the tail that wagged the proverbial dog. And so we have worked very hard for that to not be the case. An example of that would be in physics, where we used to offer AP Physics 1, AP Physics 2, AP Physics C. We eliminated over the course of a few years, all the interim, we created a non-AP course called College Level Physics that could be taken entirely instead of AP Physics 1 and AP Physics 2 for students that, for just that reason, did not want to be held down to the AP, as well as it's given a tremendous amount of freedom for our teachers to teach in that course the topics that they want to do. We've also added courses, especially at the advanced level, that are not AP. I mentioned the multivariable calculus, the linear algebra, the logic, that we have not done AP as well. We also do things like ethics and politics. And so we've got a number of elective courses that are non-AP, and yet we know that there are a lot of families and students that want the AP experience or want it for their college resume. And so we have it's either 17 or 18 different APs that we offer. An example of a situation that just happened 2 weeks ago, we have a student in advanced music theory who said, hey, can I take the AP exam? And so we sat down, looked at the curriculum, and realized that what we were teaching was close enough that they could, but our teacher doesn't want it to be beholden to the AP curriculum. So we said, yes, by all means, go ahead and take it. There may be some things that you need to do on your own, but that'll be up to the teacher to do it. We are, no decision has been made, but it's a frequent discussion about whether or not we begin decreasing the number of APs, and we are in conversation with colleges about that as a possibility of even to the point of eliminating altogether. Now, I don't see that happening in the next few years, but it is a question that we are asking and exploring and seeing if we can make our curriculum stronger and more flexible by not doing the AP.
Thank you. And the next question has to do with sort of taking advanced courses perhaps at Stony Brook University. So the question is, my child is currently enrolled in STEP, which stands for Science Technology Entry Program, and she has the ability to earn college credits through Stony Brook University. Is there an equivalent program offered at SBS?
We are not using STEP, but we have, I think, 5 or 6 different courses which we have dual enrollment, where they are able to get college credit either through Stony Brook University or Molloy College. And those come and go. We used to do college level Chinese, but it turns out that our program is much stronger. The students got bored, didn't want to do it, and so we got rid of it because nobody was taking advantage of it. On the other hand, the linear algebra, ethics and politics, those are courses that are very popular, and as well as multivariable calculus to get the college credit. I think we've also done Latin in the past as well.
Got it. And the next question has to do with sort of course selections. And so how do students, especially in 7th grade, select their classes?
7th graders, well, the basic framework that we use for course selection is such that the higher the grade you are, the more choices you have. In 7th grade, all students, I'm going to take out my fingers here and count so I get it right, are taking, as I mentioned, the 2 English classes. They're taking the world history, they take the STEM 7, and they take a math class. Those are 5 courses. They don't really choose their math class. They take a math placement test, and then they are put either in pre-algebra or in Algebra 1, or depending on their level. And again, we're very flexible with that. And then all 7th graders also do 2 trimesters of Old Testament and then they can fill that third trimester with a fine arts if they want. And then the big place where they get to choose is any of the fine arts for the remaining 3 trimesters. So the main place where they get a choice as a 7th grader is for their fine arts. The math is, yeah.
Okay. And related to this to that question is a question about placement exams, perhaps in math and other subjects for maybe grade 7. So when do prospective 7th grade students take placement exams? And you can kind of cover that for any grade. And they're wondering about math and perhaps other subjects as well.
We're doing it earlier every year. Most students don't like to do it before they have finished up, but if you wanted to, we could give it to you in May or June. We like to have them all done by early to mid-July so that we can get students scheduled in their classes.
Got it. And then this next question has to do with mini courses. And just for review for everyone, are mini courses offered throughout the year, or is it only 1 week during the year?
Ava, do you want to answer that? I think you partially did.
Yeah, mini courses are offered 3 times throughout the year, so each trimester, and for a week each time. So that's a total of 3 weeks the entire year.
And those courses are 8:30 a.m. until 3 p.m. That's all they do. There is no, they don't do any of their other courses. So if they're in an aviation mini course, they do aviation all day long. If they are in a forensics course, that's what they do all day long for those 4 or 5 days.
And this next question, I think, is for the students. So someone asked, can Ava and Lemuel share the academic expectations and how they balance all of their subjects? How would you describe maybe tests or assessments given by teachers?
I could kind of start off on that. In terms of balancing subjects, it's definitely something you need to learn how to do, especially depending on the rigor of the courses that you plan to take in your time here. As I have kind of gone through high school, I've kind of increased my rigor load. And it's helped because I kind of had to get that foundation of time management and all that. And, you know, as you add on, it's easier to handle. Balancing work is definitely something that can be a little bit challenging at first, especially with our advanced and honors classes, but it's definitely possible. There's a lot of students here who take a lot of high-level classes, and they're doing really well at balancing it.
Yeah, like I take a sport, I play a sport every throughout the year, so I still balance my work even with those sports because we have free periods throughout the day that help us out to do work. And then, as I said earlier, we don't have all 8 classes every day, which is really helpful. And I believe we have a rule that if you have more than 2 or 3 tests in a day, you can ask your teacher to ask one of them to see if you can move one of them. And teachers are usually very flexible and helpful with that. And we also have we have office hours where you can meet with your teacher and get help twice a week. And all the teachers are really able and willing to help you whenever you need. You can email them to meet with them. So.
Great, great. Next is just a general question about affiliation. Is there an affiliation between Stony Brook University and SBS?
No.
Okay. And next, sort of another placement question about math placement in particular. Do transfer students at the high school level take a math placement exam?
Depends on the grade and where they're coming from. In middle school, we often will give it anyway, just to make sure they get started in the right place. And because whatever transfer credits they have, unless what they took was a high school course, we will want them to take a placement test. But in 9th or 10th grade, especially if they are coming from an American school, if they pass geometry, I'm going to put them into Algebra 2. If they just finished pre-calculus, I may have a conversation with them in terms of, do we put you in AP Calculus A, B, or BC? And so sometimes there's a conversation there. Where it gets tricky is if the student is from Australia or from China, and the transcript doesn't mean a whole lot because it has a totally different name or it's a totally different curriculum. And so there, the placement test is helpful in making sure that they're in the right place, in the right course.
And I think this may be the last question, and it has to do with homework and kind of homework loads. So definitely would love to hear from the students on this one. Approximately how much homework is given each day?
I'd say you can expect probably homework in all your classes for that day. So if I have like 4 classes on Tuesday, then I probably have homework in all 4 of those classes for that night due on Thursday, or sometimes only 3 of them. But I maybe spend around like 2 hours a night on homework. I'm not sure, but it's going to be challenging, but it's definitely doable, and like a lot of all students do it. And if anything ever gets extremely challenging and a teacher's workload is insane, which it isn't usually, they're super open to hearing you out and hearing what you think would be better.
Yeah, kind of adding on to that, 2 hours, that's, I usually do more than 2. Yeah, it depends on the classes you take as well. My AP classes definitely like to push the limits sometimes, but like Ava said, there's a lot of support here and the teachers are very understanding. So if you just have a conversation with them, then they will definitely be willing to ease up on the workload, because the teachers here, they do care about their students, which is something that makes learning here a lot better than in some other places. Yeah.
Great. Well, this concludes our panel discussion. I want to thank all of our panelists for doing such a wonderful job. And I also want to thank our attendees for your thoughtful questions. Now, at this time, I'll move on to address the admissions process. The first step of the process is to complete the online inquiry form, which will enable the admissions office to stay in touch and keep you abreast of what's going on at SBS. If you're ready to apply, feel free to skip right to step number 2, the application. The application includes a biographic profile, parent statement, and student essays. SBS does offer 2 options for the application. We have our own application, and we also accept the SAO. Applicants have a choice of early enrollment or standard enrollment. The early enrollment application deadline is December 13th, while the application deadline for standard enrollment is January 21st. If SBS is your first choice or the only school that you're applying to, please take advantage of the early enrollment process. The one exception may be if you're applying to Catholic schools, some of the local Catholic schools, I'd encourage you to also apply early to SBS. All applicants are required to interview, and all interviews are being conducted via WebEx. In terms of testing, the SSAT is required, and SBS also accepts the ISEE, the PSAT, the SAT, and ACT. For any student for which English is not their first language, we do require the TOEFL. Other options include the IELTS exam or Duolingo. And we also require a math and English teacher recommendation. Applicants should also submit their transcript for the current school year, along with transcripts for the 2 previous school years. And for those families that may require financial aid, the parents will complete a financial aid application and submit financial documents to TADS. Now on to next steps. If you haven't done so yet, we encourage you to complete the inquiry form, and my colleague will insert the URL in the chat feature at the bottom of your screen. It's important to note that our campus is open for tours, so we hope that you will come out to see us soon. We want to help you navigate this process and learn more about SPS along the way. In order to stay in touch, or if you require any assistance, please don't hesitate to email our office, or you can reach us by phone. And within the next week or so, you will receive a survey via email. We hope that you'll take a few minutes to share your feedback, as we're always striving to improve. And don't forget to check out our social media channels, which you can find at the bottom of the SPS homepage. We hope that you'll join us next week, Wednesday, November 17th, for our next virtual open house, in which we'll focus on athletics. You can register right now by clicking on the link in the chat at the bottom of your screen. And at this time, I will take a few minutes to answer any questions you might have about the application process. And I know we received a few already. Okay, so one of the questions that was asked, and perhaps some other folks may have the same question, do you accept transfer students mid-year? And we certainly accept transfer students. More than likely, the best time for a transfer student to start would be either during our first trimester, and so that's between August, late August, at the beginning of the school year, and up till November 29th at the start of the second trimester. Other than that, it would then be the start of our second trimester and then the start of the third trimester. And there was a question, if you apply for early admission, when do you hear back? And so, again, that deadline is December 13th, and applicants will find out their decision by January 14th. And for all admitted students, they would need to notify us of their decision by, I believe it's February 8th. Or I'm sorry, I think it's January 28th. So 2 weeks. And I know another frequently asked question that comes up is, what if my child is studying at a school with an American or British curriculum? Do they need to still take the TOEFL or an equivalent exam? And so generally speaking, if a student is already at a school with an American curriculum or British curriculum, there is a possibility of waiving the TOEFL exam or the English language exam. We just ask that you check with our office, and we can let you know. And another question that usually comes up is, does an applicant need to submit all of the application materials at the same time? And so the answer to that question is no. We do encourage you to to complete steps number 1 and 2. So the inquiry form and the application, so the biographic profile, and pay the application fee. The student essays and the parent statement can be done at a later time. And once the application fee is paid and the biographic profile is completed, that will trigger on our end to schedule the interview. But also families can reach out to us, so parents can reach out to our office to schedule the interview as well. Any other questions related to the application process? Okay, so the question is, if you're applying under early enrollment, does the interview need to happen by December 13th as well? Great question. So the answer is yes. In order to qualify for early enrollment and receive a decision by January 14th, we would need to receive all application materials by December 13th. The one item that can arrive a little bit later is the testing. So students can take the SSAT, or there's a December 11th test. And so you can take that test and still qualify for early enrollment. But all of the other parts of the application and all the other items as part of your application file must be received by our office by December 13th. And another question came up: when is the last date for interviews? And so our office will be interviewing students pretty much, Monday through Friday, with the exception of kind of the major holidays. We'll be working and interviewing students Monday through Friday throughout the entire school year. So that's kind of our typical schedule. And one other question that often comes up is, what does SBS look for when evaluating applicants? And kind of what parts of the application might be most important. And so I would say there are 4 areas that we kind of rank as kind of equally important. And so those 4 areas that kind of carry the most weight would include the interview, teacher recommendations, transcripts / report cards, and the standardized testing. So those 4 areas are kind of equally weighted. And as a result, if you're a student and if one of those areas might be weaker than another, not to worry, because the other 3 areas can kind of balance things out and help your overall to kind of boost your application. Okay, so this concludes the program. I cannot thank our attendees enough for your participation and for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us. It's been an absolute pleasure to host you for this virtual open house, and we wish you all the best.